Martell Holt arrested by federals at crime scene. Martell Holt's name has always been tied to drama, but nothing could have prepared fans for what happened next. A man who built his image on charm, style, and reality TV stardom now finds himself in a situation that could change his life forever. Federal agents, flashing lights, and a crime scene that nobody expected. It was the kind of moment that takes your breath away. For years, people whispered that Martell was playing with fire, that his reckless decisions would eventually catch up to him. And now, in front of cameras, police, and a stunned crowd, it finally did. The arrest wasn't just another headline for the blogs. It was a breaking point. It was the moment when the life Martell carefully tried to hold together came crashing down in the most public way possible. Fans who once cheered for him on Love and Marriage, Huntsville are now struggling to understand how the man they thought they knew ended up surrounded by federal agents at a crime scene. But to really understand how shocking this was, we have to go back. We have to talk about Martell's past, his rise to fame, and the choices that kept pulling him deeper into controversy. Because this arrest didn't come out of nowhere. It was the result of years of scandal, betrayal, and mistakes that he thought he could control. What nobody expected was that one night, one decision, would finally bring it all to a dramatic end. Martell Holt wasn't always the man in handcuffs. Once, he was seen as a success story. A young, ambitious builder from Alabama who made his way onto reality TV and quickly became one of the most talked about personalities. Love and Marriage, Huntsville wasn't just a show for him, it was a platform that gave Martell fame, money, and a chance to tell his side of the story. On screen, he came across as confident, charming, and determined. Behind the scenes, he was working on real estate projects, business ventures, and his image as the man who had it all. For many fans, Martell represented the dream of black excellence. He had a beautiful family, a wife who supported him, and children who looked up to him. He was living in a nice home, driving luxury cars, and showing the world that he had made it. But behind that picture-perfect image, cracks were forming. The first blow came with his marriage. His relationship with Melody Sherry Holt was the foundation of his story on Love and Marriage, Huntsville. Together, they looked like a power couple. But Martell's cheating scandal shattered that image. His long affair and secret child outside of his marriage turned him into the villain of reality TV. Fans who once rooted for him began to see him differently. The betrayal wasn't just personal, it became public. And from that moment on, Martell's reputation took a hit that he never fully recovered from. The marriage ended, the family was divided, and the show used his downfall as entertainment. Martell became known more for his scandals than his success. Yet, even as his name was dragged through blogs and social media, he carried himself like a man who still had control. He was defiant. He refused to admit fault. And that arrogance only pushed him further down a dangerous path. After the divorce, Martell tried to rebuild. He launched business ventures, including a wine brand and building projects. But the public didn't forget. His personal life continued to make headlines, whether it was custody battles with Melody, messy breakups, or explosive arguments caught on camera. Every time Martell tried to move forward, drama seemed to follow. And then came the legal troubles. Rumors of financial issues, court battles, and accusations of violence painted him in a darker light. Martell always denied the worst of it, but the cloud over his name grew heavier. Supporters said he was misunderstood, a victim of editing and gossip. Critics said he was reckless, selfish, and on the path to self-destruction. The truth was somewhere in the middle, but one thing was clear: Martell was running out of chances. Still, no one could have predicted the night of his arrest. It started like any other night, but by the time it was over, Martell Holt's life would never be the same. Federal agents moved in quickly, surrounding a crime scene that had already drawn attention. Witnesses described flashing red and blue lights, the sound of heavy footsteps, and voices shouting commands. And at the center of it all was Martell. Details of what led to that moment are still unfolding, but what we know is this: Martell found himself in the wrong place at the wrong time, or, as some people believe, exactly where his reckless choices had been leading him. Reports say federal authorities had been watching the situation closely. Whatever was happening that night was serious enough to draw in not just local police, but federal agents. And when Martell appeared at the scene, his presence changed everything. People who were there couldn't believe what they were seeing. One moment, Martell was standing tall, trying to talk his way out of the situation. The next, he was being placed in handcuffs, led away as cameras captured the shocking sight. For a man who once prided himself on control and image, this was the ultimate humiliation. The arrest wasn't quiet either. Within hours, blogs and social media exploded with the news: Martell Holt arrested by federal agents at crime scene. Some fans were in shock, unable to process how the reality star had fallen this far. Others said it was only a matter of time, that Martell had been walking a dangerous line for too long. But here's the twist: this wasn't just about Martell anymore. The arrest raised bigger questions. What was he really involved in? How much did he know? And most importantly, how did a man who once had everything end up being led away by federals under flashing lights? For Martell, the emotional impact was instant. The image he worked so hard to protect shattered. His children, already caught in the storm of his divorce, now had to watch their father's name tied to a federal arrest. His ex-wife Melody, who had warned people about his reckless behavior, suddenly seemed vindicated in the worst way. Business partners began to back away. Brands and projects he had been pushing started to distance themselves, not wanting to be tied to a man facing serious federal questions. Even friends who once defended him grew quiet, waiting to see how the story unfolded. For Martell himself, the reality was crushing. Being arrested at a crime scene isn't just bad press, it's a stain that doesn't wash away easily. His pride, his arrogance, his belief that he could outtalk or outcharm any situation, all of that collapsed the moment those handcuffs locked around his wrists. The emotional weight is heavy, but so are the practical consequences. Federal charges are not like regular legal issues. They carry power, resources, and consequences that can destroy lives. Whether Martell was directly involved in the crime that night or simply caught up in it, the fact that federal agents arrested him shows the seriousness of the situation. And that brings us to the ending. Martell Holt's story has always been messy, filled with love, betrayal, and drama. But this moment, the night federal agents took him away, may be the biggest chapter yet. It forces us to ask hard questions. How does someone with so much opportunity throw it away? How does a man who had the spotlight, the family, and the chance to build a legacy end up in handcuffs at a crime scene? Is it arrogance? Is it bad choices? Or is it simply the cost of living life on the edge for too long? Whatever the answer, one thing is clear: Martell Holt's future will never look the same. His children will remember this. His ex-wife will never forget it. His fans will never see him the same way again. And for Martell himself, the road ahead is filled with uncertainty, legal battles, and the weight of a decision that can't be undone. In the end, Martell's arrest isn't just about one night. It's about years of choices, patterns, and warnings that he ignored until it was too late. The man who once stood in the spotlight as a reality TV star now finds himself in the harsh light of flashing sirens. And this time, there's no script, no cameras to edit, no storyline to spin. This is real. This is final. And this is the moment that will define him for years to come. The night Martell Holt was taken away by federal agents will not be forgotten. It wasn't just another scandal for a reality star, it was a turning point that exposed how far he had fallen. For years, Martell believed that charm, confidence, and denial could shield him from consequences. But under the flashing sirens, surrounded by agents who weren't there to play games, all of that was stripped away. The truth is, Martell's arrest is bigger than just one man. It's a reminder that no matter how famous you are, no matter how much money or attention you get, the choices you make will always catch up with you. The reality TV cameras can cut scenes and adjust the story, but the federal system doesn't edit. It deals in cold, hard facts. And for Martell, those facts have finally come to light. His children will grow up knowing that their father wasn't just in the headlines for drama, but for something far darker. His ex-wife Melody, who carried the pain of his betrayal for years, now has to watch the father of her children fight for his freedom. And the fans who once defended him are left asking themselves if they ever really knew who Martell Holt was. This is more than a downfall, it's a warning. A man who had it all, who stood in the spotlight, is now facing the fight of his life in a courtroom he can't control. And the scariest part? This is only the beginning. The arrest was dramatic, but the trial, the evidence, and the truth that comes out next could be even more explosive. Because if there's one thing we've learned from Martell Holt's story, it's this: secrets don't stay buried forever.